Okay, so I was driving into LA this morning and barreling down the 101. And there's a thing that I've gotten used to here in California, but it really struck me when I first got here because when I first got here, I drove across the country. I started in New York and I drove all the way to Ventura, California, where my family was, where my father in law was, the only grandparent my children had was. Driving all the way across the country. And in the middle of the country, you're on the highway, and people mostly automatically go to the right hand side. They go to the slow lanes, and if they're overtaking somebody, they go to the fast lane. And then they get out of the fast lane as soon as they've overtaken. As soon as I hit California, there was a jam. There was a whole pile of people in the left lane. And there was almost sometimes nobody in the far right hand lane. I thought, why is everybody on the left? What's going on here? And it took me quite a while to figure it out. And I think it's just because there's a lot of traffic here. And if you're driving a fair distance and you don't want to be bothered, you want just like the smoothest ride, you go in the left lane because you're just going to go, there's nobody going to come in from there's nobody going to come in from your left. Only people are on your right. And that's the most, there's less of people going in and out. And it's just like it's like the easiest ride. But it's not the fastest one. And it used to really irritate me. So I thought, the left-hand lane is for going fast. That's the lane if you're going faster than everybody else. But many times in California, the left lane is the slowest lane. You want to go fast, you get over in the right because that's where nobody else is there. But it occurred to me that, the thing I'm feeling about it, because and honestly, I was having those thoughts while I was cruising in the left-hand lane this morning, along with all the other people that were cruising the left-hand lane. And sometimes it was the fastest lane, and some other times it wasn't. But anyway, so yeah, I do it too, okay? But I thought, what was my irritation? What was that feeling of irritation about it? It's basically that they're occupying a position, they're occupying a space that's meant for one thing. I mean, that left-hand lane is there. We have all these different lanes. The left-hand lane is there for the people who need to go past the other people, and then you need to use it for going past people that are going slower than you. And it's irritating because people are using it for a different purpose. They're there not because they're going faster than other people. They're there because they want a comfortable ride. Okay? So they've got their own purpose for being there, but that's not the purpose for which it exists. So there's like a public purpose, which is to allow anyone who needs to overtake to be able to do so. But as anybody who drives here knows, that's a lot of times you don't even have that option because every lane is clogged with people, okay? So they're getting something out of the position for them, but they're just oblivious to the purpose that the thing is there for. But as fallen people, I think we do that all the time. I'm looking at myself as a teacher, as an example. As a teacher, I'm there to teach. I'm there to pour knowledge into people. I'm there to find out what it is that they want to learn, to find out how it is that they learn it the best, and give them a peak experience of learning. And when I first started teaching, my motivation was to give everybody a bang, that they should feel good about coming to school, because that feeling will stay with them. Also, that feeling will fuel them on the days when it's hard to come. But over the years, that spark kind of dwindled down to where I was just showing up and going, okay, how can I fill the next 3 hours? I got to teach for 3 hours, and I'm supposed to teach this and this and this. How can I do that? How can I just get this out of the way? Here they are. Here's another class. I just want to have fun. I want to do things that I enjoy doing. And I want to, I want to exert the minimum amount of energy, and I want to get paid for this. That was what it dwindled down to. And so I did things that I enjoyed doing. I found myself repeating myself a lot of the time. I wasn't really interested in who my students were or why they were there or what they came for. And my, a little bit of background. I teach in a public school adult English as a second language class. So nobody's paying to be there. And there's no, set time that this class, the class is a regular schedule, but it doesn't go for this many weeks, and then there's a test, and you get a certificate at the end. It's not like that. They're there to learn life skills in English. And, your attendance can be wildly different from one day to the next. I can have like 8 students in my class one day. I can have 27 or 32 the next day. It's not quite, not usually that drastic, but it can happen. And when I was just basically going through the motions and shuffling along, my attendance was going down and down and down and down and down. And I had the fortune to meet with Dr. Young, also known as Reverend Young, who was our national church director for a while, and a very inspirational man, a man of deep prayer. He gives amazing sermons every single day. And for someone if you've never given sermons, let me tell you, once a week is really something. That can be tough to do. Every day, you don't know how you do that. And he does amazing ones every single day. Anyway, I had the opportunity to have breakfast with a number of other people and him, and he asked me about my job, and I said, yeah, I teach English as a second language. And he had given a sermon in which he said, and this is partly the main point, he said, your job is your mission. Don't be doing your job and dreaming of when you can have a mission, when you can do what you're really here to do. No, your job is your opportunity to interact with people, to give things to people every single day. Fulfill it. Treat it as a mission. Treat it as something. And when I started doing that, well, right away, 2 things happened. 1, I regained my absolute love of teaching, because I get an absolute bang out of finding ways to put material across. And when it works, I'm charged up. They're charged up too, because my students are getting a bang out of this too, because I'm getting a bang. It builds. And my attendance started going up and up and up. Now, they say your class is doing well if you have like 15 students coming on a regular basis, which means you probably have about 30 enrolled in your class. What started happening in my class, and oh yeah, by the way, the only time you have a really big class is in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of the year, when students are they're all inspired, they're fired up, they've got a plan for themselves, they got a plan. And then bit by bit, it gets hard. You come home from a long day's work and you're just like, I just can't go to that class again tonight. And then it gets easier and it slips. So you start off with like 34 people in your class. And then after 2 weeks, you're down to 15. And that was just viewed as a normal process. Well, what happened to me was that happened in reverse. My numbers started climbing. And I thought, okay, 30 is the mind blower. 30 is wow, you had 30 students? That's the mind blower. I thought more than 30. And just thinking that, they started showing up. And so that really revived that sense of it. And then the other thing that was happening when I was really like punching the clock and chugging along was going, oh man, I wish I had a mission. I wish I had something I could really do spiritually for people. And I was like that, just that separation between what I'm doing and I wish I was doing something else. It's like your mind and body are in 2 different places. Like I'm here, but I really wish I was fishing or something like that. It's just like you're not all the way here. And did you know that they've done scientific studies about happiness? And the one factor that's always present in happiness is that you're totally focused on what you are doing in the moment. You're here. Your mind and body are working together.